I am a landscape architect, and I'm also an Emeritus Professor from NC State, where I taught small-scale garden design for 35 years in the Horticulture Department. So horticulture has become a big part of how I approach design. I'm also a certified permaculture designer and teacher. Now, permaculture is a sustainable living methodology where we're attempting to create ecosystems that mimic natural ecosystems in terms of their diversity, their sustainability, and their resilience. But within the context of these consciously designed ecosystems, we're trying to provide for all of our needs, like our food, our water, our energy, shelter, and how the materials we use flow through our environment. Materials like bamboo that we use when we're building a fence, or wood that we use in building a gazebo, or in my case, clay that we use when we're building a pizza oven. So how do we manage that so we create as little waste as possible? So within the context of the garden that we have here, I'm trying to combine good design with the principles of permaculture. And unfortunately, permaculture has a terrible reputation for its aesthetics. What I'm trying to do as a designer, my mission, is to bring good design to permaculture. Permaculture is young. It's a very young discipline. And when it came on and was taught, and taught in small kind of groups of 15 to 25 all around the world, people got excited about finally discovering a way that they could live their lives in a manner that would be able to be sustained into the indefinite future. And so everyone got all excited, and they gathered up all the resources they could. They went out and they got a piece of land. Now they don't have a job. All their money is in the land. They have to build a place. They have to shelter themselves and provide for themselves with food, water, energy, and everything all at once. And so they came in without the skill set. You learn a little bit at a time, and without the resources, and they did it all at once, and they did it terrible. And so it's just a really, really bad aesthetic. And what I tell my students, I said, start at your doorstep. Once you figure out how to do that well, then move out a little bit and do it again and move out. In other words, learn as you go, because learning how to create a garden, and if it's not beautiful, we're not going to stay there. Learning how to create a beautiful environment where you live takes time. It doesn't come automatically. So permaculture was too quick, is my estimation. When I was traveling abroad, and I was so disgusted with the aesthetic of permaculture, and then I happened to visit a Chinese garden in Sydney, Australia, and I was going through it and just bemoaning the fact that permaculture was so ugly. And I loved this Chinese garden. I said, wait a minute, they've been working this out for 4,000 years. Permaculture is 40 years old. Obviously, there's a learning curve yet to be had. But, I think right now the people I'm talking to, the permaculture designers and the folks who are embracing it, they're starting to recognize that if permaculture is going to be a methodology that in effect is going to save the world, and I believe it and a lot of people believe it, then it has to become a beautiful methodology or people are just not going to take it on. And so it's really, it's the saving of permaculture as a methodology as well as the saving of the world. Because if we don't have a sustainable environment, a habitat that we call home, then, we're not going to make it. It's a finite globe. When I grew up, my parents had this piece of land 25 miles from Rochester, New York. And they had 15 acres of land. And so as a kid, we had to work in the garden and do this, that, and the next thing, but also we got to run free on these 15 acres of land. So basically, I was this, I don't know how you would describe it, a snotty-nosed, kind of rumpled kid running through the woods all day long. That was me. And so when I came up and got through high school and stuff, well, what am I going to do? What's my profession? I said, well, I want to be a forest ranger. They said, okay, that's a good idea. So I looked around for a university where I could become a forest ranger. And the State University of New York at Syracuse had a College of Forestry. And I said, well, that's great. So I put in my application. One application, thankfully, I got accepted. I went to the College of Forestry. And when I got there, from this little kid from a hick town, didn't really interact very well, but I could study. So I was so frightened. The only thing I could do at this big university was study. And so I became the first in my class in the College of Forestry. Well, okay, here's the smart guy. Let's get him here, let's get him there, let's put him in these things. And I got, recruited. And so I went into what was essentially chemical engineering. Well, I got into chemical engineering and I went through it. It was pulp and paper technology. And I was miserable. And I couldn't stand it. Finally, I just dropped out of school for a year. And then I went back and I said, so what am I going to do? Well, I had joined this professional fraternity that was just students in the College of Forestry. And within this fraternity, there was one group of people that seemed to laugh and have more fun than anyone else. And they were landscape architects. And I said, well, I'm going to become a landscape architect because they have more fun. And when I was coming up through school, I liked to draw. I was, each class has a class artist. Well, I was the class artist, so, I had to learn how to design, but I could draw. So I went in and actually I got to the top of that class too. So I said, this is where I'm going. And that's what I've been doing ever since. What I've figured out is to be a landscape architect is basically like being a private investigator, figuring out what the land is saying and what works best relative to how humans fit on the land. It's very similar. So, I think that's what appeals to me. And then obviously, I'm a sculptor as well, so I like spatial creations. And so out in the landscape, anything you're doing, growing trees, plants, whatever, that's just a big, living sculpture in effect. So it all goes.